So the produce section, it's my absolute favorite section in any store. I love it because it's usually the foundation of all of my best meals. But there's a lot to think about. How do you know when you're supposed to buy organic versus conventional? What does it even mean to be non-GMO or to have GMOs? What does it mean to eat seasonally? And what does your store offer you during each season? So whether your priority is freshness or seasonality or budget, I am gonna show you how to shop this produce section confidently. Let's hit it. We're used to having access to all of this produce all year round. But believe it or not, everything you see here has a growing season where it's at its absolute peak. In spring, you can find berries, fresh peas, and asparagus. Summertime, I love corn, melon, cherries, and stone fruits. In fall, you've got all these beautiful apples and pumpkin and squash. And in the winter, we get to enjoy root vegetables like beets, potatoes, tons of citrus, and my favorite greens like kale and chard. I think the question is, though, why would you bother eating seasonally? First off, price. When you're eating things that are in season, you're gonna save a ton of money. Also, it's much easier on the planet. You're not creating such a large carbon footprint if you're having to fly something from halfway around the world, which we do when things are out of season all the time. And I love the idea that I'm supporting local farmers and local businesses when I eat seasonally. Most importantly to me, you will notice a huge difference in taste when you're eating seasonally. If you've ever tried to eat something like a tomato that's grown out of season versus in, you'll be blown away. So when you start menu planning, I always say start right here in the seasonal section. Your food is gonna taste great, you're gonna save a ton of money, you won't be disappointed. So we've got all this beautiful produce, but the question is, how can you tell when things are ripe? I've got a couple tricks to show you. One is avocados. I buy these all the time and I put them in everything. Sometimes this one's hard as a rock. Still, how do you know? One thing I like to look at is that when you go to remove the stem there, if it's hard to get out of there, it's probably not ready. This one, not ready. Then I take this one and I can tell by touching it that it's a lot softer, it's not mushy, it still looks full. Let's see what happens when I take the stem out. What you really want for a ripe one is that the color of the flesh matches what it should be, right? So this is green, this is perfect. You're not gonna get a lot of brown spots inside. On to one of my favorites, pineapple. You might not know this trick. You can certainly look by color, you can look for golden pineapple, but you should be able to pull a leaf easily from it. That one is like too easy. It's amazing. Let's try another. Yeah, see how easily that came out? Another cool trick that I learned while I was on vacation in Hawaii at a plantation. Twist the crown, turn it upside down. If you let this sit for about 3 hours before you cut into it, all of those beautiful sugars are gonna distribute evenly throughout the pineapple and every bite is gonna be delicious. Okay, another one, melons. I mean, how many tricks have we seen? Do you knock on it? Do you smell it? What I look for is that it feels substantial in your hands, that it's weighted. You should be able to press into it a little bit, so it shouldn't be too hard. You can try to smell it. Some are more fragrant than others, but I think this one's just right. Another thing to consider when buying produce is when are you gonna use it throughout the week? If I'm not gonna make guacamole until 6 days from now, I'm okay buying these super firm ones and letting them ripen up at home. So think about that for all of your cooking during the week. Conventional versus organic, what's the difference? With organic produce, the soil has to be free of pesticides and herbicides for 7 years, and they can't spray any of that produce with anything. Conventional, we don't have those same standards, but there is a price consideration when you're shopping organically. So where do you start? I tell people to always start with the dirty dozen. Peaches, nectarines, apples, sweet bell peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, snap peas, potatoes, strawberries, spinach, grapes, and celery make up the dirty dozen. So why are these dozens so important? They're more susceptible to absorbing pesticides. So things like potatoes, and then you'll notice a lot of them have really softer skins. Tomatoes are on that list. Sweet bell peppers are on that list. Strawberries, grapes, even spinach. So I always tell people if you're looking to buy organically, start with these. And if you don't think you can afford them, remember, a lot of these have frozen counterparts, and those are less expensive. Now, what about all this talk with GMOs? The good news is most fruits and vegetables are free of GMOs, but there are 5 you really want to be careful with. They're edamame, Hawaiian papaya, corn, summer squash, and zucchini. The The good news is their organic counterparts are free of GMOs. So if I'm buying organic zucchini, I can be sure it's free of pesticides and non-GMO. So the last thing I want to show you in produce is this amazing assortment of herbs. The great thing about herbs is that they're so concentrated, you get a ton of nutrition in a really small amount. So today I'm going to show you how to make my favorite green sauce, and I'm using the herbs that I have on hand. So to start, I've got a couple of my favorite staple pantry items. One is Dijon mustard. The thing I love about Dijon is it helps emulsify ingredients, so it's going to bind things together. So anytime I'm making a vinaigrette, I love to use it. Great for sauces. And today I'm using sherry vinegar in this. I love sherry vinegar, but you can also use any type of acid you like. So I've combined those two things, and I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil and just stream it in. Okay, so I'm basically making a base of vinaigrette. Now for my herbs. Parsley, cilantro, maybe a little mint. But the best part is you can use whatever you like. So I'm gonna chop these up and put them right in the sauce. I happen to like these three herbs together, and I seem to always have extra in my fridge. So it's also a great way to use up herbs at the end of the week. And then I put this on everything. Sandwiches, grilled steak, shrimp, salmon. And just like that, in under 5 minutes, I have a super healthy and super delicious sauce that I will put on everything. And if you want to speed it up even more, you can just put all of that in a food processor. So you're home from the store, and I know how tempting it is to just shove all your groceries in the refrigerator and not think about them until you're ready to cook. But I think if you just take even 30 minutes to prep some simple things right now, you are gonna save so much time throughout the week, and you'll be so much more likely to actually do the cooking. It doesn't have to be a chore. I like to either have a latte, maybe pour myself a glass of wine, depending on what time of day it is. Turn on some music and have some fun with it. The other thing I like to think about is, as I look at the recipes I'm cooking for the week, what are the things that you can prep in advance that really do hold up well in the refrigerator? Everything I have here, if you know how to store it, you can prep it now and it'll last throughout the week. So I can slice my potatoes, slice my bell peppers, chop up my fennel, and dice this onion. Let's get started. One of my favorite tips is that if you are cooking near a gas flame, if you just turn that flame on, put a pot of water over it while you chop your onions, there are no tears. People don't believe me until they try it. There we go. So I've prepped all my veggies, and now let me show you the trick for keeping them fresh and how you store them all week long. Start with my potatoes. Now, if you want to slice your potatoes in advance, it's great. You just can cover them with some water so they don't oxidize, and they're going to last for probably 3 days in the refrigerator like this. Just make sure you rinse them before you go to cook with them, okay? One down. Next up, my fennel. Got that straight in by itself. Now let's do our peppers and onions. I'm just gonna keep them in a sealable bag because I'm gonna put them in my produce drawer and they won't take up much space at all. In they go. And this week I'm actually putting my peppers and onions in a couple recipes together, so why use another bag? I've dampened a paper towel. I'm gonna put it right in the bag. One other trick, I like to push the air out of the bag, not for freshness sake, but to take up less space in my refrigerator. Now one of my favorites, herbs. The only one I like to store on the countertop is basil. It's extra sensitive. But look what I'm gonna do. I've just got a little bit of water here in a glass. Take the bag, whatever bag you put it in at the store, and just cover it. And it makes kind of like a little cloche, so it keeps it fresh, won't dry out, and it won't turn colors. I just keep it on my countertop like this. Now, for all of my sturdier herbs, everything else kind of holds up better in the refrigerator. Get some damp paper towel and wrap them up. Again, let's squeeze out that air. It's gonna take up such a small amount of space in my fridge. Boom. I'm done with all my veggie prep and storage for the week, making it so much easier to cook anytime I come in from a long day.